You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jourdan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. Success. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Boom! That's exactly it. Do that. Let's do that. I'm telling you, I wait all week for this.
Let's go.
It's amazing how putting your arms in the air just gives you immediate. Doesn't it? Like
it also cracks your back sometimes.
Oh yeah,
that
good.
felt good.
Yeah, that added.
Now I'm all straightened out.
That added feature. That's one of those extra benefits that you get. Yeah, I just before we got started, I tortured myself because before we got started, what I did was peeled a clementine. So now I have a clementine. So now I have all these sections of clementine right here that I have to wait like an hour to eat. You know, torturing. I just look, and it's like one of those good ones, and it's just so sweet, and it's like you almost salivate when you think about it. It's like getting your first. The first peach of the season. We're in Atlanta. If you get I don't know when the peaches come out, but the first peach, like the good one, the one that you eat and it kind of like drips down your face and it's just good. You want to kill your. I mean, just thinking about it, it makes you salivate. Almost like how people must be before they come to the DJ Live here today, thinking, "Oh my gosh, what's gonna happen today?"
Yeah, and now you've done so much for the peach industry.
Oh yeah,
talking about peaches. So everyone right now, Dan, is Googling peach season and like when peach season is.
Yeah.
And so if you're a business that's involved in produce, involved in fruit, involved in that kind of stuff, you want to be found. And I hear that today we have someone that can help you do that. And so we've got, first of all, if you're on any of the tubes, LinkedIn being one of the tubes that our friend Dwellin Williams of the Kidney Trails is on, please join in the chat. We have a very special guest today. And no, it's not just Dan Jourdan. And it's not Chris Stone. It's actually somebody who is going to help you get found online. But from Phoenix, Arizona, at kidneytrails.com, getting their daily dose of the Deej. What could be better?
I know. Kidney trails to you until we meet again. All right. Well, so this is great. Listen, that was absolutely right when you said about the peaches. The first thing when someone has a question in their head, where does this word come from? Who was the first, prime minister of Poland? I don't know where that came from, but as soon as a question pops into your head, the first thing you do is go to your phone. And I'm going to introduce this guest right now because I met him, that he taught me something that I should have known a long time ago, but he taught it to me. And so now I brought him on to share it with everybody here on how to make your business better. Please help me welcome my new friend, Scott Vermillion.
Woo! Yeah, let's go.
That's it. Look at that. He's an IT guy. He's like a detail-oriented, but manages to have a personality. So I appreciate that.
How does that work?
Yeah.
Bonus.
He's not Scott, Verthousand. He is Scott Vermillion. He's that good,
Well, I don't have the luxury of having my first name in both my first name and my last name, like you do.
That's right.
I've got to stand out some other way.
Dan Jourdan. That's right. And you do it well.
I just now noticed that. I just like the attention to detail already. Scott's off the charts. I just now, as long as I've worked with him, I didn't realize he had Dan in both his first and last name.
Yes, I
If
know.
Dan, if you just move one step to your right, you will just to your left.
Okay.
You will have now Dan in both sides of your
Oh,
head.
look at that.
It's
There you go.
Danception.
That's
It is
right.
Danception live.
All right, you have officially climbed to the top of my my favorite guest right now. There you go. Now, all you got to do is talk about me. So, okay, so let me tell you what happened with my and I wrote down some questions for you to share with people. But I met Scott at a some sort of convention where he had a booth for his company, what have you. And then I spoke with him a little bit there. And sometimes you just get like an immediate kind of liking of somebody for no real reason. I couldn't figure out why. And I actually looked you up afterwards and found out that you're somewhat of a preacher or a pastor in a past life.
That's right.
And I said, aha, that's it. Because when I talked to you, you didn't originally try to sell me your product. Instead, you taught me what I need to do to get the results that I want. And I said, this is a special type of guy. So how does a man who's called to God and a pastor for how many years?
30 years.
Monte Kia for 30 years. How does the pressure? I mean, you work at at a stock brokerage firm for 5 years. There's so much pressure. You can't leave. Everybody thinks you're a loser. Oh my gosh, you're giving up. And imagine being a pastor for 30 years. Yeah. How does a man walk away with his head held high into another career after that?
That's a good question. And fortunately, my wife doesn't ask that. So I'm really grateful that she is with me on this journey. But listen, the Lord still has a call on my life. And he just tells me where to go, and I just try to walk humbly with him, to be honest with you. The last 10, 12 years of my work as a pastor, I really dove deep into the area of work. I was, people come to church for maybe an hour a week, but they spend 40 plus hours a week at work. And I was finding that the church had less and less to say about the actual work hours. And so I started diving into people's lives and how they worked, what was painful about it, what was helpful, how were they finding their calling as an accountant, as a computer coder, as a tradesman. You name it, trying to help them understand the value of work. And I just really started gravitating toward business owners. My dad was a business owner. He had a vending and catering business for many years. My brother's a successful entrepreneur, runs a security business in Eastern North Carolina. And so it's a group of people I kind of gravitate toward. And pastoring, it's a lot like being an entrepreneur as well. And so I just started seeing that these people needed some benefit and some help and encouragement. And so I started really gravitating toward those folks, and they kept turning around to me and saying, Scott, you're really good at this. Why don't you run a business? Like, how come you don't have a business? And I'm like, because I got a day job. And I think I said that one too many times, Dan. Uh-huh. And the Lord said, yeah, how come you're not doing that? I was like, because
that's
I feel
amazing.
Really comfortable over here. I don't want to change at midlife. Yeah. That's not fun.
Yeah, sometimes we think we're in control, right, Scott? And sometimes you get hit upside the head and said, wow, I really thought that I was in control of this. And that's a great story.
Now, here's the thing. Do you still attend the same church?
No, I don't attend the same church. That's never really a good thing to do. You don't want to suck the wind out of someone else's sails. So we've moved on, and that's been helpful, and it's been a good fresh start. And it's been good for me just to kind of be a recipient, and to be one of the crowd. And that's kind of been refreshing for my soul, and has allowed me to receive grace in a different way than I was typically experiencing. There's a lot of ways as a pastor, you can't quite be a part of the community. You're still, serving it. And this has allowed us to really be different, just be known for Scott. I'm not a pastor, and so there's no title or expectation when I walk in the room. And so people are surprised at what I can give or how I care for people, but it's still me. It's just me,
Yeah. Well, so how this is interesting because a lot of people will leave a place of work or some place that they've been for a long time, move into another career, but really their sphere of influence and their customer base or their prospect base is that is that previous place, and to no one is in control of it. Yes, and the challenge is there's that kind of queasy feeling in your belly of, can I go and contact those people under a guy's not as friendship as much as also can we do some business together? Have you been able to tap into that, or have you had any awkward moments with that? Anything you could share, because this happens all the time.
Oh, I think it's a great question because I feel it every day. There's my rule of thumb in business is to want more for people than they want, how do I say this? I want more for people than what I want from them. And I want them to leave with more in that interaction than what I gained. And so it is difficult to maintain that, because some months you're like, I really need a sale. The brass tacks is, when I leave the church, I'm now like the sole provider of my family. I mean, my wife works as a teacher and she does a phenomenal job, but we need a little bit more for our kids. And so there's a college fund that we've got to develop, all these types of things. And so I'm realizing, I've got to bring something home today. And so there is that measure of balancing, to say, hey, there's a camaraderie of business that we know if we're good for one another, then it will be a seamless or an easy conversation. But when I am jonesing for a sale, or I feel that need, like, oh man, I really would like to get another sale this month, then all of a sudden it changes and corrupts the conversation. And I could just tell. And so it's just really nice to just have that check every morning to say, I want the calls that I'm on to be the best calls of their day. And when I put that as the main focus, man, it's fun to talk to people. Like, you obviously you enjoy yourself, Dan, probably one of the most enjoyable people I've ever met, and always a smile on your face, always ready to give to somebody. That's the type of mentality you just have to continue in business. There's going to be days when you lose. There's going to be days when you don't get the sale. They're going to choose someone else. Yeah, all of that happens, but there's enough, right? And if you go into the world full and not really needing something from somebody, but really wanting to give something to somebody, that I think changes the dynamics of the day, and it changes the dynamics of the relationship, where it becomes a real fun experience to be in business with somebody.
That's exactly right. So it's the line. Oh, Jerry Lopez, my man. We'll get back to that. Yeah, the whole idea is you want to give to get, and it's not that you even want that. You just have to trust that the get is going to come the more you give, and really that really was on display when I met you. Because you were teaching me stuff that I didn't know. And so I'm going to reverse it a little bit and change your pitch a little bit for you, because everybody knows. So if I were to ask you, Scott Vermillion, what do you do?
I help people generate leads online.
Okay. And very good, very succinct, and you're right in there. We're not going to give the pitch. I want to just talk message right now. Yeah. What you just said, anybody could say. Just about anybody in your business. And if I were to ask you how to do that, you would say, well, we do the SEO. I'm telling everybody out there, the reason why Scott's on this show is he doesn't do SEO. That's just something that people understand, but that's not what people are buying. That's just, a process that goes along. What Scott Vermillion does is guarantee front page placement in 3 months or your money back. That's what he does. front page placement on Yahoo, on Bing, and on Google. And I said Yahoo and Bing first because how much business is done on those three sites, Scott?
Yeah,
percentage wise.
You can look it up. It's about 35% of searchers use Yahoo and Bing. And if you look at any of the Microsoft products, they're not going to put Google there as is their installed default browser, and so they put their own. The Dell computers and that whole 9 yards, they're going to use Yahoo or Bing as well. So it's a lot of people.
That's 35% of 100 gazillion.
Yeah.
Of anybody who's looking
it's a good number.
Yeah. Who's looking up, when's peach season? I mean, it's going at a million people. They're looking all the time. And so when a lot of people focus just on Google, you're missing 35% of the market.
Mm-hmm.
Front page placement guaranteed. So that's what you need to say. And then the last thing when you're pitching somebody, Scott, is you have to add a close to it. You have to encourage me to talk. Okay. So ask me what I do.
What do you do, Dan?
You know what I do? I work with companies just like yours to give you a front page placement on all the three sites, guaranteed, or your money back.
Hold on. I got to get a pen.
How's that sound?
We'll send you the recording, Scott.
Oh yeah, I do need that. This sounds like you've done this before.
How's that sound? You have to add the how's that sound. And this is for everybody out there. When people ask you what you do, when someone asks you a question and you answer it, you've earned the right to close. And the close is simply just to make sure that they understand what you just said. How's that sound? Does that make sense? Are you with me? Are we on the same page?
Yeah.
Something like that to encourage the person to call back. Very, very important.
I'll tell you the one other thing, Dan, that you did besides sort of made it a differentiator and sort of specialized as to what he did to create an impact is like, Scott, you're obviously someone that serves others, that thinks about others, that's looking at it from, not how much money can I make from you, but what can we do for you, right? But your pitch was all about, I do this for people online. And when Dan turned it around, he said, I do this for you so that this can happen and you'll end up with this. It's about them. It's about saying you and not I, we, or us. That was a big mistake for me. And that Dan was like, it was right on the front page of my website. He was like, get rid of the I, we, and us. Yeah. It's not about you.
There's three words that repel customers.
Yeah.
Those three words are I, we, and us. But there's three words that attract customers, and that's you, yours, and move down to the South, baby, and you get to say y'all. And so, but okay. But now that I know what you do, and I'm totally impressed with you do, I don't believe you because it makes no sense. Everybody says you're going to, get me on the front page. Everyone's going to do all that stuff. Yeah. Now you have my interest because you guarantee it and nobody else does that. So now you have my interest. So now I'm saying how, and why don't you tell me how you do that and tell everybody else, because I'll tell everybody who's watching, you could do it yourself. You'll decide it's too much, but you can do it yourself. Go ahead and tell us how you do it because he's cracked the code, baby.
Yeah. Well, it's I do want to pull the curtain back behind the search engine optimization, what they're looking for. I mean, in brass tacks, the reason why they put 10 listings up there below the ads is that they're offering the most relevant websites for that search. And so you have to look through your website and to say, is my website the most relevant website for those searches? And if my website isn't, then there's no way you're going to get on the front page. And so Google gets paid by information, right? They collect information on everybody who goes to your website. Anytime they do a search, they're getting your information. It's a free service, but just remember, you're the product, right? Your information is being collected along the way. But it's a good trade. And so if you are able to tell your story online to the search engines, then they will put you in front of real people who are looking for you, who are actually going to click that buy now button. And so that's the idea. And there's three major categories that Google looks at to make sure that you're the most relevant website for your service. One is the coding on your website. The second is the content. And the third is your overall website size. And so there is a fourth one, it's traffic, but you have to earn your traffic. A lot of people try to go right to the traffic and say, hey, let's do a bunch of what we call backlinking. If you've heard of that and anybody in SEO starts talking about backlinking, you need to run, because look it up. Does Google penalize for backlinks? And that's one of the most common penalties, because people put their website on another website. That's a backlink, and it's listed hundreds of times. And they're just trying to get this big link farm built where they're getting all this traffic, and you might get a spike in your traffic one month. Google's going to find out about it, and you're going to go back to zero.
Right. So it's for those of you who want to figure that out, it's basically if CNN was on the Dan Jourdan live show and we put their link on it, and so many people watched our show, they'd get so many more clicks on their website because people are coming here and we're promoting.
That's exactly right. So it's not a good practice. It shouldn't be. It should be used with extreme caution. But the coding, getting your coding right, you can do that. Getting your content right, you can do that. And building your overall website size, you can do that.
Okay, so I want to go into all three of those, but let me ask you, why don't I just do paid ads?
You certainly can do paid ads, but just remember what you get there. So we manage people's paid advertisement. Google Ads is basically what they're called. And when you think about a Google ad, you just have to know what you're getting. It is quick to get up there. It takes about 3 days for Google to approve you and have your ads running, but it's on a supply and demand curve. So your ad in Atlanta may cost very different than an ad in Charlotte, North Carolina. You just don't know, because it's all based on that supply and demand curve with Google. And so it's limited. So as soon as your daily budget is expired, your ad goes off the page. So you have to know that. You have to have a big enough budget to make it worth it. And then you have to beware of dirty competitors. Your competitor can actually go and click on your Google ad and charge you money. And it's not something I recommend. And in fact, I would challenge you, if you are doing that, to stop doing that. There are better ways to compete than doing that kind of stuff.
And how many people?
Do
most people click on those, or do most people go organic?
Yeah. So if you do a search, the percentage of people who click on Google ads, the first listing in Google says only 6% of people click on Google ads.
Wow.
I mean, that's amazing.
It is crazy. And you can make it work. However, you have to know what you're doing to not waste those clicks.
So organic is
organic
is the way to go. So you want to be one of those first 10 on the first page for the keywords for your local area. Right. And so you say there's 3 ways to do it. How do you first make sure that Google or Bing or Yahoo even knows you're there?
Well, you have to submit these pages to the search engines. We do it manually. So we make sure that all the pages on your website are submitted and that they see it, because there's like 500,000 new websites created a day. And so there's Google has a lot of work. Bing has a lot of work. They have a lot of little robots crawling around, and you have to set up your website in a way that will get their attention to say, come to my house. It's like throwing a party. You have to invite them in. And there's parts of your coding on your website that actually do that work. There are things called the meta robots tag and the meta revisit tag. And these are invitation extenders from your website to the search engines to say, come check us out and see all of our pages, copy all of our content, follow all of our links, and put it on all of your servers. So that's a big part of the process. But it's really then, in order for Google to rank you, you have to have content that is actually getting Google's attention. And most people develop content like a overwhelming billboard. So how many of you driving down the highway see a billboard with 10 pictures on it in 4 paragraphs? It's not likely to happen, because it's going to be overwhelming. But we sure make our homepages like that. Our homepages say we do everything in every city and we're the best at it. And we've been doing it for the longest. And Google just says that's just not specific enough. And so there's a rationale to building specific landing pages about one of your focused areas or services that you provide in one of your key locations. And that's like having a billboard that's hyper focused, like having a big juicy cheeseburger on the sign that says hungry, exit now. And when Google sees that page, they're like, put that guy on the front page, because that's all about that key service in that area.
Well, now that is, that makes sense. But most SEO companies that I talk to, they say, yeah, your site is new. Google doesn't know about it yet. We're going to have to do some pages, and it'll take 3 or 6 months. And then you'll see yourself moving up, from invisible to page 15 to 14 to, 10. How do you, how much do you have to do to get on the first page? Is there a number?
There is a number. For us, with the way we've done it, we've kind of done it mathematically. And if you ever do a search, you're not going to see it on a mobile device, but maybe on an iPad you can. But on a computer, when you do a search for, let's just say, roof repair in Midland, Odessa, or Midland, Texas, I just did that earlier this morning. The first listing, there's a gray number right above it. It says about 22 million search results. And so when you do that kind of search, you're going to have a number of competitive websites that Google says is relevant for every search you do. It could be from the hundreds of thousands to the trillions. And so it just depends on how popular that search terms are. And so what we do is we look at those search terms, that we average out what you want to be found for in your market location, and say, well, if it's under 5 million, most of your searches are under 5 million results, then you need 40 pages. Or if it's under 10 million to 5 million, 10 to 5 million search results, then you need about 66 pages. If it's 15 million to 10 million, then you need about 96 pages.
So 96 pages, landing pages written the correct way with the right keywords in the proper way that's meta tagged to Google so it knows where to find them.
Right. And original, Dan. And
original.
So you cannot copy and paste. The difficult part about this is, like, everybody wants to write their best roofing repair page and then just swap out all the cities. But Google will penalize that in a second. They just don't, it just doesn't work. And so, so that's
where do you put it? Where do you put these on your website? So you don't have so it's not so bloody.
That's a great question. So if you go to my website again, I don't know if you were able to call that up, Chris.
Let me tell you something. If you got a need for anything, Chris Stone takes care of it.
Okay, so Chris, you see those the menus across the top of your page. If you just kind of scroll over them, the services has about 4, and then there's probably about 8 pages that you see on my website. That's kind of the what a typical website is going to need. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, in the black footer section, there's a little sitemap. And that right there is basically a list of all the pages that I have on my website. It's basically a table of contents. And this is good practice, because the first thing that Google looks at is the title of your homepage. And then the second thing they look at is your table of contents, which is the sitemap. And they want to see all of the things that are in your website. And so that's not going to allow yourself to clog up all of the menus. So you're not having to scroll through that list every day. It's really mainly for Google.
Is this not, see, Chris Stone, is this not great? You said, oh my gosh, an SEO guy's coming. He's going to bore everybody to tears.
Oh,
This
that's what exactly.
This is like real information.
No, I tell you what, let's take this for a drive. If I type in danjourdan.com.
Oh, let's type somebody else in.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is Dan. Are you down for this, or like?
My site is horrible, but yes, I'm totally ready for it because I'm going to eventually get him to work my site.
2 Dans.
Yes. So are you pulling it up?
I clicked submit. It says it takes a minute to finish.
Yeah, it's going to be doesn't have a little circle thing.
What is he pulling up? What is it supposed to pull up?
So it should give you a test of your website to decide what percentage of Google's latest criteria you're meeting. And so, it takes
www or
you're good.
Okay.
All right. So
it's
Scott,
taking a minute on my end too. So
Scott, how does your business run? Are you doing this from your home? Do you have a team of people? Do you outsource a bunch of stuff? How do you, when you have to create 66 pages, are you doing this in between taking kids to school?
Yeah, that's right. I'm a one-man band. No, I got smarter people that work for me. Hire above your own pay grade, right? That's hire people that are better than you, and you'll get better results. But yeah, so we have a tech team and a group of people who do content writing. They're professional content writers, and all in the United States. So we don't ship this out to foreign countries that don't know English. So there are some peculiarities around some businesses that have some finesse. And so we have to make sure that we are writing good content for folks. And so, yeah, there's about 16 people that help, get me or get my clients the service that they need. So it's been fun to work with them.
And how do you know the keywords to put in there? That's always a big thing. People just put these keywords. You explained something about being it local and in scope and global.
So it's the search engines. If you want to be found, a lot of people say, I want to be found for roofing. Right? Okay. It's like that's a giant search term, but every search is local. Right. So even though Google is global in scope, you've got every search determining which server you're hitting, and they're going to line up the most relevant websites for your local area. So I'm in Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. And if I did roof repair, didn't put a city, I'm going to get all local results. They're going to load up the first Austin pages first. And if you do, roof repair, the same search, you're going to get Atlanta. And it's just because Google needs to give you the most relevant websites for those searches. And
so even if I don't put in Marietta or Atlanta, it's going to automatically do that.
It's going to automatically do that. You might get some bigger companies that are more national in reach. Mm-hmm. But that's, again, Google knows where you live because you're hitting those servers in those locations. And so you're not going to get Phoenix, Arizona results. Because they know that's not going to help you. And so they have to live by that relevancy factor. If they don't, people are going to stop using the service. If it's not relevant to them, doesn't help them, then they're going to stop.
So I don't have to put my town name in it, in that keyword?
You don't, but it definitely lowers the competition when you do. Oh, okay. And there are a lot of people who are searching for local services. Most people do include a city when they search because they don't want the national big box stores. They want someone who they can support locally and that's someone who's going to serve them. And so there are a lot of these guys that run these national businesses, and then they especially in the trades world, they'll just subcontract it out to someone in that city. And that's not as preferable of a service than someone who actually is running a business from that city, and is able to get eyeball to eyeball with you. And so we see that all the time, is that people like that type of service.
So what's a perfect company for a perfect type of company for you?
Anybody who is looking to connect with their ideal client who is searching for their services now online. That's honest to God, the truth.
And a lot of people don't realize you said something to me too, because full disclosure, we've enlisted Scott's services for Matthew, my son's company, which is we're really looking forward, and I think you are too, because you think it's going to work really well.
Oh, yeah.
And so
I'm thinking about buying my own junk removal service.
Yeah. So don't buy. Listen, we'll consult with you and get you up and going. So don't go into a franchise. We'll hook you up.
We'll franchise him out here in Austin.
That's it. That's right. We'll get junk generals. When you had said something to me, which was, I thought, really profound, and so it hit me hard. He said, Dan, you don't realize this. You think you're in the junk business. This is an online business more than anything else. And it exactly right. Back in the day when you used to start a business, I've said this many times, it was very easy. You got yourself a business license, you got yourself an office, and you got yourself a Yellow Page ad, and you were in business, and you just waited for things to come. Mm-hmm. Oh, Scott Wald, we got to talk to him. And you waited for things to come. Well, the Yellow Pages went away, and a million different options became available to you, or the internet became, but it's so complicated, you wind up doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And so the small business is left just flapping in the breeze, hoping that someone's going to find, almost like a secret agent.
Right.
And so what you've managed to figure out how to do is get those invisible businesses visible, so they have a fighting chance. And you gotta be in the Yellow Pages. You gotta be on the front page. And so how did you find this out and crack this code? Because every other SEO company, it's just, when am I going to get on the front page? Well, I don't know. It all depends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a kind of a Wizard of Oz feel to this business, and we like to demystify it, because ultimately Google's just like any other business. They want to offer a service that is valuable, right? It's just like every other business that survives. It's either a product or service that's valuable. And even if you're selling a service, or even if you're selling a product, if your service isn't behind that product, they're going to move to somebody else that's making the same product, whether it be a mattress or a lollipop, it just doesn't matter. And so when you think about a company, even though they got bajillions of dollars, they're just like every other local business. And so they have to have rules. They have to have some rules to play by. And once you start seeing, oh, here's the pattern, here's what they're looking for. If you analyze the sites that are on the front page now, it doesn't take long to figure out, oh, they all have a ton of landing pages. They all have similar, coding issues that they're putting forward, and they all have similar content. And you realize, oh, okay, this is why Google is putting them up on the front page. Now, the difficulty is doing that work yourself as a business owner. I don't do my own plumbing. Do I know how plumbing works? Yeah, but there's no way I'm touching my plumbing. I'm going to call somebody for that. You could tell me all about roofing and tell me about what kind of nails to use, what kind of shingles that are going to be best for my roof, but I'm not going to be nailing them onto my roof. I'm going to call somebody for that. And we believe the same thing, that people are going to call us, to help them with their online placement, because they're really good at what they do. They don't need to be messing with this. They just need to have somebody who they can partner with, that they can trust, that will walk with them to get them to the place they need to be.
To the promised land. He's still preaching.
That's
this
right.
Guy. He can't stop. He's spreading the word.
It's in his DNA. Dan.
I can't take it out.
We had two people, both Scott Wald and Crispin Cruz, who mentioned this thing, have businesses that need your services, and I expect them to. I'm gonna call them and tell them to get in touch with you, because it's absolutely imperative. You literally need to get on the front page for those keywords, and then you can actually run your business. You know, it's one of those. But actually, there is an issue. Let's say you do your job and I get on the front page, but I'm still not getting the calls. I'm still not getting the action. Do your landing pages drive people to do something? Do they have a call to action?
That's right.
I need the phone to ring.
That's right. We have had that from time to time where we call it a website that's not converting. So it's a great question. You don't want just traffic. You know, it's great. You get thousands of people to come to your website, but if the phone's not ringing, then there's something going on with your website that people aren't liking. And we've got to drill down on that. And so we like to do that on the front end. I give my best advice. Not everybody takes it. So, you know, I can't, you know, the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. But I typically say in that, let's find out. Let's let the people decide. So after 3 months, and we can show you what kind of traffic you've had. And if the phone's still not ringing, then something on your website is a problem, because we can show that there are people who are coming there. However, they are not picking up the phone to call you. And so there's a trust factor. There's a simplicity factor. You're muddying the water with what you're offering. You're telling people to fill out too many forms. You know, there's a lot of different things that we look at. But what we want to do is have people have a clear call to action. So think of a website like this. It should be designed like a water theme park. If you ever see a kid walk into a water theme park, they think, man, there's so many different rides here. This is going to be great. And I always look, I don't say this, but I want to go up to those kids and pop the bubble and say, there's only one ride here, because every single slide puts you in the same pool at the bottom. And that's exactly the way you want your website to work. They can land on any page they want. They can look at any topic that you have to offer, but it should funnel them into the same pool at the end. Call this number now, right? And if your website's doing that, then it doesn't matter what page they're on. Choose your own adventure. They're still going to call you. And that's the way we encourage our clients to design their sites. And we help them do that, obviously, but so that it's pushing them toward just one decision. You know, and this is where Apple, a $1 trillion company now, has perfected the art of removing choice for people, right? They have these unbelievable computers and phones and all these kind of iPads, but they only give you like two options that are really the same thing. You know, you can have a little bit more or a little bit less, but it's really the same product. And you're bought in. You're like, I want it. And that's the type of thing you want to do on your website. Don't muddy the waters with about 1,000 different ways to communicate. I always say, have one phone number on your website that is nowhere else. You don't give it. It's not on a business card. You don't give it out to anybody. And then, you know, when that phone rings, it's the bat phone. And you go, okay, this is someone who's connected from my website, who's looking for my service now. I better pick this thing up and really answer what they've got going on.
That's awesome. Yeah, we do have a couple of questions. I want to put those up there from Mitch, especially. But I do want to say, you know, you mentioned that Apple is $1 trillion company. People don't realize this is what can happen to you if you're on the front page. There's so many people using it, but you just toss out numbers like 1 trillion or 1 billion or whatever it is. You know what 1 trillion is? You know, 1 million is a lot. I mean, if you got 1 million, that's a lot.
That high, Dan.
Right? You know, like. You know, and some people get like 10 million or 100 million. If you had 1,000 millions, you'd have 1 billion. Like, that's how big it's 1,000 millions. 1 trillion is 1,000 billions. I mean, that's how big. I mean, it's giant flipping enormous.
It's like when someone goes on Bing and types in the Deej. That's how many you get. That's it.
The Deej.
So Mitch has got a really good question here, Scott, is how does this SEO philosophy you're describing apply to searches accomplished with other search sites?
Yeah, that's really good, Mitch. You know, typically it's the same. Google got out there. Actually, Yahoo was first. And if you remember, they were the kings, and then Google supplanted them. And they just did it better, right? They just, you remember how long they went without a dime in their pocket. They were going out of business. Everybody was calling for them to go out of business. And yet they said, we're doing the long game. And then gosh, that hockey stick, they went way up in value. And then Yahoo went down, so, but they're all based on the same reality. The restrictions are what's different. So what Google will allow as a most relevant website might be a little less strict than Google. And we see, or Yahoo, the same happens. We see that a lot. Like we get a lot more Bing front page placements than we do Google on some optimizations. And we were like, well, what's going on there? And when we drill down and we just see that there may be a factor where it does take into the age of your website, for instance. So if you're a new website, it doesn't mean it's going to take you forever, but Google's going to throttle you or vet you would be probably a better word, more when you go from 0 to hero. They're like, what happened? As Bing might say, join the party, come on in. We're happy to have you. Google might just kind of be the grumpy old man on the porch saying, we're going to look at this a little bit longer. We're going to roll this over. We're only going to give you 50 new searches to be on the front page, not 100.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love how you're personalizing the algorithm. It's like I'm imagining Google as a real person.
Yes, you have to. You have to anthropomorphize.
But that's why it's an ongoing service. So I mean, there's a cost to get started and get rolling, but then it's ongoing because you're always adapting, overcoming, and watching and adding and subtracting and things like that. Right. But the question you have to ask yourself when you're doing something like this is, how much is a customer worth for you? And you could just work on your closing rates. How many calls are you getting? Are you missing out because people don't even know that you exist? And so I think this is just because I poo-pooed SEO for years.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's.
Well, what's the quote you have about when you Google yourself? It's one thing to find out you're an axe murderer.
Yeah,
which is terrible,
it's one thing to find.
It's even worse if you can't find yourself.
Exactly right. Even worth is finding, if somebody's looking.
But is it really? I mean, okay, I'm not.
If somebody's looking, well, at least with an axe murderer, at least there's redemption. You could have a story about it. But if someone looks, when you look up, you want to do business with a company or you want to get a job with a company, and so you look them all up and you find out everything about them, and you finally get an interview with them. You think for a second they're not looking you up. If it's for a decent position, they're going to check you out. And if they find nothing, and if a customer finds nothing, they're going to say, hey, man, let's move along. Yeah. Let's move along there. So
Crispin Cruz is complaining that there's math on this podcast. So here's some math for Crispin Cruz. I did test Sales Arbiter. Which is a website out there, and we've got 75% optimized. So generally, I mean, there's obviously a lot that goes into that percentage. But Scott, I said, if I'm a third grader, what does that mean?
Yeah. So, if you were in third grade and brought home a 75, would your mom be happy? Okay. That's probably the easiest way to answer that. I know in my household that didn't fly. And so it certainly doesn't fly with my girls when they come home from high school now and with a 75. I'm like, we put more time into you than that, so put a little more effort in. But typically what we see is we get sites between 90 and 100% of Google's latest criteria. And this is primarily measuring the coding aspect. So there are different tools we'll use to measure their content and their overall website size. And that's just one of the tools we use. And some of the things on that are like, if you, Chris, do you mind going to the Sales Arbiter website? I'll show you.
Not at all.
I'm telling you, go there and find out all this optimization, but never get, and Scott, when you're selling this, I don't want you to get lost in the weeds here. All right. And so what you're selling is front page placement.
Correct.
Nothing else matters. I don't care if you wave a flipping magic wand and I get there. That's what I want. And that's the only measure I care about as the customer. With my keywords, when someone looks up, Atlanta, Georgia, coolest guy in Atlanta, I want to be on that front page, or whatever you do in the background means nothing.
Right. Okay. So if you go to the top of the page in the browser there in your browser and put the cursor over the sales arbiter.
Look at that good looking guy there.
Yeah. Go up a little further.
Oh, over this.
Yeah, right there. And just leave it there for a second. It'll drop down. Well, if you zoom in a little bit, it's small for me, but it's the whole title is right there, Sales Arbiter. And so that's, if you go to any of the tabs in your browser and leave the cursor over there, it'll drop down the whole title of your homepage. That's the first thing Google looks at. So that right there is something that is going to, Google's going to evaluate to say, what is that related to? Sales Arbiter. Does it have anything? Is there a city there? It's only 13 characters. You have up to 75. And if you are not using those 75 characters to tell Google about what you do and where you do it, then you're leaving a lot on the table. It's like heating your house with the windows open. You're wasting space.
Is that considered it's considered the heading, right?
Yeah, it's actually the title. It's the title of your homepage, and it's the first thing Google looks at. And anybody,
so when it says Sales Arbiter, it says Sales Arbiter on the dropdown, and then it's got the .com underneath it.
Yep.
Anything that you're putting into that title would also be a part of this dropdown. Like where it says salesarbiter.com, it would be like,
it wouldn't be, the domain is the .com, but the title is Sales Arbiter. And so if you want to have something in there about your selling services, right?
Yeah. How to get, even it could be that get more customers, earn more money, have more freedom. I'll put it in there. Or like yours, Scott, is Yellowbee.com. And the title is guaranteed front page placement, whatever.
So if you leave mine on there, it says Austin Yellowbee SEO Marketing in Austin, Texas. That's the title of my homepage. Okay. And because I'm talking about my services in my location. And again, no one's looking at that except Google, right? But the title of your website is so important because it is the first thing Google looks at. And if you're not maximizing the thing you do, the service that you provide, and the location you primarily provide it in, then Google's going to move on. And that's just the first of many things in the coding that we've got to talk through. But I wanted to give that to you because anybody can do that. You don't need any special tools. You just use your own cursor.
Look at that value Scott's bringing to the show.
I know. That's it. Total value. So let's say somebody wants to get in touch with you. What do they need to do?
They can go to my website and they can just click on the contact button and they can book an appointment with me. And it's as easy as that. You can book a 15-minute session with me, a little intro call, a 30-minute call to go over your website, or an hour, and just whatever you need, and we'll walk through it. That's right. Go right there to the contact page and hit that book now button. You can also call me, of course, but I do have a lot of calls that I have lined up. But all you got to do is hit that book now, and it'll take you to one of those three options.
Yeah, and I will say, anybody who's thinking about it, don't feel foolish if you have a lousy website or if you haven't done anything or all that, which is the case with me. He uses his pastoral skills to really just lighten.
I'll find something good about it.
Yeah, he'll say something. Let me tell you four things really good, and then one thing that I think you could help you with. Well, the one thing I could help you with is it's invisible. Nobody sees it. It's not even there.
That's
It's
right.
as if you're doing nothing.
Nobody can find you.
You can't do anything, but he'll help you out there. I think that's great, Scott. I'm so pleased. Just so you know, I met him at this you
Small
had a
Business
booth.
Expo.
Oh, home business. Have you done any others of those? For a lot of people are asking, are those things helpful or successful for you?
They are. I think people are getting out there more and more. I'm a little worried about this spring with COVID cranking back up again, but there are a lot of people wearing masks. They still went out there, and there were fewer handshakes, but that's, everybody knows that now. Everybody kind of knows how to navigate the COVID world, but I think it's really fun. You meet a ton of people that you wouldn't ordinarily meet. And there's a lot of people who go to those shows. If you have a service that can help a small business, that is a great show to go to, the Small Business Expo. And they have them all over the country, also in Canada. But I don't get paid for that, but it's helped me in the past. So
those shows are good because I don't get paid for it either, but we're here to serve and we're here to help.
Yeah.
I'm telling you people out there, it's time to get out and about again. Just go ahead and do it. And especially those business to business shows. If you have a booth there, you have instant camaraderie with everybody else who has a booth. And I find, have you started doing business with any other people at those shows?
Yeah.
It's
been great. I think the thing that's you want to look into with those shows is, does it fit your ideal client, right? These are you have to evaluate all the different shows based on that. But yeah, I think they're great. I think it's a great opportunity. You got to be a little patient. You may not get a home run on the first show that you go to, but if you pump it up, and it's a great opportunity to connect with a lot of people in a short window of time that you can follow up with, and you never know who they know.
Yeah, that's it. That's excellent. Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you.
Thanks,
at last minute, because you wouldn't believe it, but we had cancellations on this show. People are scared. Chris Stone is very intimidating. and so that's what it is.
I may look rough, but I'm a teddy bear on the inside, Dan.
Right.
But you are offering tons and tons of value. And for you people out there with your businesses, man, you could have the best service in the world, but if nobody knows you're there, the phone isn't going to ring. And just think of all the people you're unable to serve just because you're not on that first page. It's the only question you need to ask of people, of marketers. I said, what will I be on page one? Will I be in the book? If you're not on page one, it's as if you're not on Google. And so make it happen. I know you can do it. You're just this close. Most small businesses are this close to just blowing their business up if they just had one thing. You know what that one thing is, Scott Vermillion?
I think it's me.
I was going to say more customers, but it's much better.
I like that answer.
It's
sorry, I had to
Vermillion.
do a shameless self-promotion on that one. Sorry, Dan.
That was good.
Go get it. I love it.
You guys are awesome. I wish nothing but good things to happen to you all for the rest of your lives. Stick around at the end here, Scott Vermillion.
Okay.
And everybody else out there, eat well, live long, and prosper. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Go get them.